Angel's back. It's time for yoga. So today we're going to start. Shoes or socks are optional. Comfortable clothing, a mat, and that's about all you need. So we're going to start actually in a sitting position. If this is too uncomfortable, and I'll be honest, there are some days it's very uncomfortable for me. Little things like a block or a pillow can go behind you to sit on. Okay? If even that, you can come up here. You can prop blankets, pillows, anything behind you. Come here and just let your thighs start to open up, okay? So we're going to start here. Why? There's a couple of reasons this pose. So as long as you don't have like major knee issues, and again, even if you do, sometimes just propping things back behind you and propping yourself up relieves some of it. Knees are meant to be bent. They are meant to be used. When we stop using them is when we have more issues. But sometimes that's a catch-22, right? When it's painful, we stop doing things, and when we stop doing things, we no longer can do things, which over the long run causes more pain. So do what you can do to a level where it is tolerable. We're not looking for pain. I'm not looking for extreme discomfort, but some things might be uncomfortable and not painful and okay. So go to those points. So if this itself is not comfortable, then I might be up here and hanging out up here. So I'm also on my feet, whether it be in this position, and even here is a more extreme position for my feet and my toes, right? So I'm flattening out through my ankles to get some natural stretch through there, okay? We're going to take a big deep breath, up, and hinge forward. Any amount that I can, placing my hands in front of me, pushing my hips back, stretching my arms forward, and reaching my hips back. So this is an extended child's pose, but it's actually a tug of war with your spine. So your hips provide the tug from behind, and your arms provide the tug from in front. And we're aiming to make our spine as long as possible. Now we started from that knee bent position, but if this, again, is too much into the knees or the thighs, I'm going to move this block out of the way for a moment. I can take my knees out wider, hinge my hips back more, and I might find some more space where my head could actually rest on the ground. Now the purpose of these first couple poses is to find your breath. That breathe in and the exhale out. Deep breaths in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Deep breaths in through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. 3 more breaths. We're going to move the hands right underneath to bring ourselves up. Bring the knees in line with the hips. Hands underneath the shoulders. Curl the toes under and press back. Downward dog. Okay. Again, a few breaths. Gonna look forward. Step my right foot toward my hand, my left foot toward my hands, feet hip distance apart, soften the knees, and let the body fall forward. Gonna look ahead of me, stretch out through my back, so hands are either on my shins, they can be on the floor if I can straighten out through here. I'm going to stretch out through my back and my head, get some length through my spine, bringing my head forward, and then float down again. Big breath, everything comes all the way up. My hands come back to my center, and then all the way down. Now I'm going to hold here in this mountain position. My toes spread wide, lift them up off the floor, press them down. My shoulders over my hips over my knees over my ankles. I take a big breath in, reach up, lift through the belly. On the exhale, come down, all the way down. Breathe in, everything is forward, head, spine, exhale and down. This time I'm going to take my right foot back in a big lunge. I just about stepped off my mat, so I'm going to bring my foot forward. Good. And I'm going to drop my knee down. My foot comes to the floor, come all the way up. Good. My hand comes to my center. I'm going to hook my elbow to my knee with a little twist. We're here. So I'm starting with the modified version. We will go through this again, and then you can choose to do the full version. Always a choice. I'm going to bring it back through the center. I'm going to place my hand next to my foot, reach my arm up, and a twist. And a dragonfly twist. This top hand is going to come back down to the floor. I'm going to come up onto my back foot, step my foot back into downward dog. Look forward, step or jump my hands to my feet to my hands, fold forward, come up halfway, fold, and all the way up. Reach up, hands to center, mountain, and again, big breath, and fold. Big breath and extend. So this is really just to get space through your spine. That's what it's for. So when you fold again, you can fold deeper. Step back with the left this time. Bring the knee down to the floor, foot to the floor. Come up. Bring the hands up. Hands to our heart. Elbow, hook, and twist. And now we're going to take this hand, side of my foot, and twist up. This hand comes back down, this foot comes up, this foot steps back into downward dog. Big breaths. Step or jump your feet forward to your hands and fold. Halfway and fold. And everything rolls up. Come back to our center. Stack everything as we mountain. Good. And we're going to do everything again. You've seen the modified version. I'm going to show you this time the full version with legs or with knee off the floor. Big breath in and fold. Hinge or come on up halfway and fold. Right leg comes back. The knee can come to the ground. This time I'm going to keep my knee up off the ground. Balancing on my back foot, reach all the way up. So out of my lower back, maybe that's a hinge forward or a hip forward so that my back is straight. Good. Hands to center, elbow to knee as I twist. So this is all about balance and stability. You don't want to do this with the leg up off the floor if you're starting to wobble all over the place. Balance and stability. Release, prayer twist, hand to the floor and extend up. Hand back down. Step back into downward dog. Look, step or jump forward to your hands. Fold. Halfway and fold. All the way up. Center, mountain. Let's do the other side. Big breath. And fold. So fly your way down, all the way, halfway up. So when I do this, when I put my hands here on my shins, I want to feel my shin bones press into my palms. So I'm not pushing and hyperextending my knees back here, pushing my legs straight. If I have to bend my knees, or if I just have to push my shins into my hands. And then fold, and then take that left leg back, balance on the back feet, bend the front leg, find your balance, hips forward, body up. You don't want to feel this in your lower back. So if I can't get enough of my hip forward, tucked forward, so I'm taking the hip and I'm pulling it forward, tucking it under a bit. So now I have room in my spine to reach up. If I can't do that and I'm just, let me turn sideways. And if my hips are still back here and I'm arching my back to get this height, don't do that. You're going to hurt that lower back. So again, we want to push the hips forward. Maybe I even have to bend my back knee a teensy bit to get there, and then I want that straight back. So please don't sacrifice good form to get it to look like what you think it's supposed to, okay? Because sometimes our bodies are at a place where we're just not gonna completely look exactly like we think we should in a yoga move. Bring it back to center, elbow to knee as we connect and twist. Okay, now maybe in here, because I've got a little bit of wiggle room. Maybe not. Maybe I can get down a little further. I'm a little hinged forward. Maybe I've got some more room in that back leg. Then I take away this prayer twist, hand to the floor or on my fingers, and I'm going to twist. Again, I'm not going to yank my shoulder up just to get it up to the sky. So maybe this actually becomes more this and less strain on my shoulder. And then back through the center, foot back, press back. Take a walk forward or a jump, feet to my hands, forward fold, maybe even bring the hands behind so that I can get a little bit more space. Belly to thigh, folding myself in half like a sandwich. And then pressing my hands here, feeling those shin bones come forward, and then fall back again and down. Bring it all the way up and through the center and back into mountain. So we've did some basic openers in the hips. Let's continue with some of the more foundational yoga moves. Warrior 1, Warrior 2, triangle, and so forth. Big breath in and fold forward. Take that hinge, reach forward, and fold again. My right leg, once again, is going to step back. This time I'm going to anchor my foot. So sometimes you'll hear heel should line up to heel. To be honest, if your hips are a little bit tight, you might want them less in a straight line, more a little bit out, so that when you come up, you can bend this front knee, but that you can also bring your hips forward again. Okay, so here, find your hip bones. Hip bones should be facing forward. If you find they're still out here, then you might need to adjust your feet. Maybe it comes out a little wider, maybe that back foot comes a little bit more forward, but we want the hips here. Then we want to see if we can get a bit of a bend in this front knee. And hips are pushed forward so that we can come upright. So just as we just did a moment ago, I don't want my hips pushed backwards here and then try to reach and I'm hurting my lower back. I want to get my hips underneath me and up. Okay, here's our Warrior 1 as whatever it looks like. Okay, front knee bent, line the knee up to the second toe, back leg straight and anchored. If you look at my back foot, or my back foot, the edge of my back foot is against the floor. So if it's sneaking up, adjust your stance so you can place the edge of your back foot on the floor. That's for your calves. We're trying to get a really good stretch here and a hip opener. So here's our Warrior 1. Okay, I can take my Warrior 1. I can take my Warrior 1, keeping that front leg bent, and now I'm just going to hinge. So nothing below my waist is going to change. It is only this hinge forward and down. Humble warrior. Okay. Again, somewhat tricky on your balance. See if you can reach your toes beyond, or your fingers beyond your toes. Okay. And then come all the way up. Good. Now we're going to reverse the warrior. Front knee stays bent. Back leg stays straight. The leg that's forward, the arm is going to stay up. And then I'm going to look back and reach back toward my back leg. Reverse warrior. going to take this to side angle. So now this arm is going to bend and come forward, not resting on my front leg, but placed on my front leg. And this arm, so if, again, let me turn sideways. The same pose here. So this arm is here. There's that angle. See, my body's making a triangle, that long line from my hand all the way down to my back foot. Okay? And this arm, if you're hanging on this front leg, then take this arm off and just let it dangle. Okay? Good. And now back up into warrior one. I'm going to turn again onto my mat. Back into our warrior one. And now here is where we can get a little more hip opener. I'm going to open this up into warrior two. So now my hips that were here are actually going to turn sideways. And warrior one. I might be able to get a little more bend in that front knee. I might be able to center myself more in the middle. Hand over the front toes, over the back. Good. Now I can come up here. And I can come here again. And I can stay here, straightening out that front leg, maybe placing my hand on my shin or on my foot into triangle and bringing that arm straight up. So with that side angle we talked about earlier, I had that triangle pose. Now I'm straightening out this leg, reaching my arm up, looking up, and then coming back into warrior two. Swinging it back into warrior one. And then here is the fun. We're going to take this into warrior three. It's a balancing pose. I'm going to take this hinge. I'm going to come up onto my back toes. I'm going to balance on my front leg. Extend. Now my arms are forward. Why don't we take them down here for a moment. Adjust my hips. Extend my leg back. Flex my foot. Straighten out through the leg if I can. And now maybe arms out here or arms here. And then I can take my hands down if I need that assistance, or just place my foot back on the floor, come up into my warrior one. Hands to the floor. Step that foot back into downward dog. And we haven't done this yet today, but let's turn this into a vinyasa. So we're going to take our body forward into plank. I'm going to bring my knees down. You can keep them up. I'm going to come a little bit over my shoulder, my shoulders over my hands, lower to the floor all the way. Extend my legs back. Hands stay right here underneath my shoulder. Yeah, right behind my shoulders. Belly in. Lift my upper body. My hands could come away and I'm still holding myself up. Lower. Come back into plank. Downward dog. And then step or jump my feet to my hands. Come up halfway. And fold. And up. Back to the center, and we get to do the other side. So back to mountain. Big breath in, starting with the warriors. Fold forward. Halfway. And down. This time the left leg steps back. Turn that foot, so a lot of times if you just keep yourself forward, hands in front next to your feet, it's then very hard to turn your hips. They almost have to be facing this way physically for you to get to this position. So if as long as you are adjusting your back foot and you're still facing forward here, you're not going to move your hips. So now you can come up and you're in that warrior one. It's when we start to like play around with the foot after we're up that the hips get a little bit lost in the translation. So keeping those hips forward, coming out of that lower back, reaching up is our warrior one, okay? Humble warrior, if you remember, everything below the belly button stays the same. We hinge, here's our flat back, here's our rounded back, our flexed back, and we dive toward that front toe. If we need to, we put our fingers to that floor, or we hover just above the toe for more balance. All the way back up, warrior one. Good. Drop the hand, look back, reverse warrior. Right? All the way up, hinge forward, side angle. From side angle, we could actually just come right into warrior two. The hips moved with side angle, open the space, warrior two. So I can come back even more here, little space, side angle, and now from side angle, I've got that reach. If I straighten that leg, the arm up, I've got triangle. And look up at the hand if you can. Get some more mobility through our cervical spine. And then back up to warrior two. That arm swings to meet for warrior one. And now here's where we can have a little fun. Come off that back toe. Come forward. Put your weight into that front foot. Drop the hands to allow yourself to adjust your hips. Flex the foot. Straighten through the leg any amount. Hinge forward. Woohoo! There we go. And now we can play. Or not. Okay. Now I'm going to come down into my warrior one once again. Hands to the floor. Step back into my downward dog. Woo! A little shake, a little wiggle, a little movement. To my plank. Lower to the floor. All the way up into cobra. Come up into plank and downward dog. Sit. Deep breath, look forward, step or jump your feet to the hands. Drop. So every time I fold forward, I want to try and pull my hips up, take away the space between my belly and my thighs, and let everything come down. And halfway, the whole point again is to get some space here so that I can fold a little deeper, right? And then come all the way up. Good. And mountain. So some strength poses now. When we think of strength, so that was to open up the hips, kind of get all the, the hip muscles and the gluteal muscles activated and working. to get into some strength poses. Okay, let's check and see where we are. Big breath in. We can leave the arms up here. I can bring them here. I can take them here, but I'm going to bend my knees and sit down. Okay? So it's a squat, but it's called chair. Feet hip distance apart, hips are back, belly in, and my arms are here, or if I feel okay, they can come up here. But I want to try and get myself down and arms up without, once again, without arching through my back. I was going sideways. So maybe I feel better here. That way I can sit a little bit lower. I can pull myself up, belly in. Good. Now remember that twist we did earlier, hands here. I'm going to take this to my side. And I can come back through my chair and over to the other side. Now the fun part about chair is it can be a stepping stone to other poses. It can come here, sending that right leg back, lunge, right? Chair to lunge. Let's come back. Chair to lunge. Good. Back to chair. Back to that lunge. Hands center that little twist we did earlier. Back to that lunge, back to chair, other side, and that twist. So strength in yoga, we want to open up first and then we can do this. Back to lunge, back to chair, okay? Now, you can diminish the space and bring the knees together. You can keep the knees slightly apart. I'm going to keep this chair, arms here, and I'm going to start to lift my heels up. Okay. Maybe I put the knees together, and I start to come down a little bit. And then I come back up. Come all the way up on my toes. Then I come back. Up, heels one to drop. I come back and bend those knees. Back into that chair. Heels down. And fold and release. One knee bend, one heel. Come all the way up. One more strength pose that many of us know, and sometimes I don't even think of being as a strength pose, is tree. So I'm going to stand first in mountain, because that is a huge, huge thing. My base has to be strong before I start messing with it. Just like a tree. In the trunk, the roots have to be strong before it can withstand wind. So I'm going to stand shoulders over hips, over knees, over ankles. I can bring my hand to center. I can let it hold here at my hips, wherever. I'm going to take my right foot at my ankle. And I'm going to start to just put the pressure in my left foot. So the right foot is floating now. Toe can be on the floor. This is a tree. Now maybe you're saying, but that doesn't look like a tree. So maybe a more traditional or deeper tree you can try by taking that foot up. Okay? We're working to get this hip out wider, but still everything facing forward. Here is perfectly fine. Maybe I need more. And I try to take it, but it only lands at my knee. Then I can bring it up here. And my pants are really slippery, so it's not going to stay there. So I'm just going to hold it here. Okay. I'm going to work at opening this up wider. I'm going to work at reaching my tree up. And then we can work at a few different things. So I can take my tree here, here for my branches, and I can twist a little to the side, to that part of my tree. Okay, my ankles now are moving. Then I can bring that tree, my branches. My tree might fall a little, might get a little wobbly. I'm going to run into my treadmill here. I'm going to hold my tree here, and I'm going to take it the other way. Any amount, I can move my hips, and my foot is still forward. Okay? And then I bring my tree back, centered, both feet on the floor, and release into mountain again. We want to find our mountain once again before we go to the other side. The brain might be already working toward that other side, but the body needs this moment, needs to be present. And then we move on. Once again, we plant the foot. We allow this foot to play and start floating. Maybe these hands even come here just for more gravity and more centered. My toe is still touching. Now it's not. Now it's not. I don't know about this side. You never know. So I can start to move it higher. So why do I not want to stay right there on the knee joint? I'm actually okay and comfortable there. What tends to happen is as I lose balance, my first instinct is going to be to push into that, my foot, into my other leg for balance, for stability, and that's right on the joint. So the likelihood of me hurting myself by pushing my knee out laterally where it shouldn't go is much higher than if I have it down here or if I have it above the joint. And again, slippery pants, not a good thing today. Okay? So you need to go to a place, I was a kid in my classes, that you know you've gone too high when you put your foot up there and it starts pulling your pants actually down. So if it's yanking your shorts down, it's too high. I want to be able to move and balance here and take this leg out wider. So I can grow my branches, I can take it out, and I'm going to move now. The tree blows with the wind, and it comes back, and it blows with the wind the other way. And it's back. Center. My first instinct is like, okay, put my foot down. Back to center. Let it slide. And place it down. Right? Lift the toes up. Back down. Big breath. Good. So even though my eyes, my neck, my face is up toward the ceiling, I'm just stretching everything as if someone's taking me and pulling me up from the ground. So lift your rib cage, lift your body, push everything you can dangle from the ceiling. And then back to center. And back to mountain. Where are we at? Perfect. So now that we've done some hip openers, some strength, we're going to come down to the floor. We've got a couple of challenge, not challenge, we'll see, moves on the floor to spine, hip, core, all that. So big breath in, And take your bow. So bend the knees, come down halfway, all the way. Oh, that feels good. Go ahead and come down to the knees. Once again, knees together, and I'm going to bring my hands forward, my hips back into child's pose. Ah, itchy nose. So I do like my child's pose sometimes like this, just so I can get some more like length into my shoulders and some movement into my shoulders. But if it doesn't feel comfortable, you can reach back, head to the floor, and just form a little ball. And you might actually feel some more stretch through the back of, through the lower back here. Okay, taking yourself into the smallest possible position. So I'm going to walk my hands back forward, bring myself up into all fours, cross my feet behind me, and then sit down. Now the next one I'm going to do is seated pigeon. If you want, you can come into that full pigeon forward. I'll show it both ways. But let's start with the modified version because it does tend to be more gentle. Especially if you've been running and cycling and the hips are getting a little bit tight. We're going to do that seated pigeon first and maybe cradle the baby before I show the other version. So, actually one of the first things you could do is just a seated like position, cobbler. Okay, so we're here. Actually cobbler I think is on your knees, but whatever. So I'm going to take my right leg. I'm going to do a half lotus. Okay, half lotus. Full lotus is both feet facing up. So I would have this here, and I would take, ooh, knees are not going to do that today, and bring this foot up into this cradle for full lotus. So I have a half lotus right here. Okay. And I'm going to take this half lotus, I'm going to extend my left leg out, and now my half lotus is actually more like a number 4 stretch. So I'm going to keep my posture nice and tall, a 90-degree angle here. Maybe even I place my hands behind me, and now I'm going to take my left leg. Yeah, well, I have my right and my left, you probably have it the reverse. So we're going to take this leg and bend the knee. But instead of leaning back, because honestly I'm not getting a big stretch here, I'm going to bring myself forward again, this 90 degree. So from the side, keeping my upper torso 90 degrees with the ground. Okay, so here is that seated pigeon. Okay, the same hip movement or hip movement as reclined pigeon, just without a prone pigeon, supine pigeon. I'm not thinking today. The other pigeon. Now I could also, even more comfortable, especially if I find myself just kind of hanging out back here and not able to bring this forward, is I can do reclined pigeon. Or as we might know, is a number 4 stretch. So here, once again, I've got this pigeon. I'm going to bring it back up so you can see my seated pigeon, because if you can, if you want, if you really choose, we can take this to cradle the baby. So I'm going to take this foot and I'm going to put it any amount I can into the crook of my elbow. Reach around, sit up tall, and now I'm holding the baby. Now, as this opens, I can hug it even closer, I can interlace my fingers. I just did a run a few moments ago, so obviously nothing is really like agreeing with this. So even this might be too much. And you're going to keep it either here in a number 4 or with the knee slightly bent and forward. And we've still got this. Okay? Now go ahead and extend that leg down. Cross this foot over. Bring yourself up again as close to 90 as you can. And now I'm holding with my opposite arm here at my knee. I'm going to place my hand behind me like a kickstand. I'm going to sit up as tall as I can, pull my belly in, and then look over my shoulder. Okay. I generally tend to feel a little bit better with my leg extended. Some people might be a little more comfortable if this leg was back here, and then here. And actually I'm kind of getting a better stretch. But, you know, again, it depends on what your body is doing or how it's reacting after you've done things. Okay. And now we're going to bring it right back to center, uncross, recross the other way. So first starting in this seated position, taking it to that half lotus. Okay, and I'm going to be honest, this one there's a little bit more of a pinch for me. There's a little bit less, it's a little less comfortable. It doesn't hurt, so I'm going to leave it. If it hurts, stop. Go back to what does not hurt. Let's take this back to our breathing that we started early in the practice, and hopefully that we've been doing all the way through. And now I'm going to take, this leg stays, the bottom leg extends. I've got my number 4 sitting up tall, out like 90 degree. This is plenty. Okay, this is a modified pigeon. I can start to bend this knee, again keeping myself forward and holding pigeon here, or even here. I can try cradle my baby. So I'm going to take this here. Yeah, that's a little uncomfortable, I'm not going to lie. Woo! Yeah. Noises are totally optional. Okay, I'm going to bring it back to my pigeon, because I'm going to be honest, I can only hold that for so long and then it just starts to wear on you. Okay, I'm going to take this over, leg extended, or as I did on the other side, knee bent, hugging that knee in front of me, placing my kickstand, belly in, twist and look over my shoulder. So I'm looking for some mobility through my spine, maybe through my cervical spine by taking that look over my shoulder. And then bringing it back here. Extending both legs out, sitting up as tall as I can. I'm run out of space on my mat, so I'm going to bring myself forward. Bend the knees, hands to the side, let yourself come down to the floor. Let the feet fall open. Let your palms face up. Let your shoulders melt into the floor. And find your final relaxation. Now I'm going to time this, because sometimes this is the hardest pose to do, to actually be relaxed. So you have at least 1 minute, maybe I'll give you 2, to not move. Ready? And go. The easiest way not to move
which I'm doing with my mouth right now, is to breathe. Breathe into the nose. Out through the mouth. Let your eyes close. Maybe even let your mouth open into a smile. For the most part of the day, that minute flies by without even being noticed. Unless you're holding plank, of course. Sometimes right now it could be the longest minute ever. Clear your mind. Try not to wiggle your toes. Try not to wiggle your fingers. Let the floor support you. Good, right? All right. When you're ready to come out of that final relaxation, open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes. Turn your head side to side. Move your feet. Bring your knees into your chest. Wrap your hands around and roll side to side in the spine. Let the knees come down to your right side. Place your hand on the floor and push yourself up into seated. I hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to play it as often as you need to. Namaste. Hey, Scott.